Baya na kuleta kasi ya wani. Atu akamwibara kwa daipa, inena kwa daipa. Bantu wabebe kishinka. Abantu wabebe kishinka, wala fumwa. Baya tamaro kuleta wa matisha. Shabu kutwanu wa matisha na chaku koshi.
Davi-tech-media. Subscribe to Davi-tech-media. Davi-tech-media. Subscribe to Davi-tech-media.
Hello, we are back again. And I'm sure that some of you would like to get some people to join us. I have an important subject that I would like to convey to the nation. And it is the one that is trending at the moment, desiring that we respond to it as quickly as possible. It's not going to be a long conversation tonight, because I am going to strictly deal with the matter at hand. But it would be helpful for us if you could ask your friends to come and join me, because this is important and I would like to deal with it. It's a national matter that demands that we sit around the table as a nation and find a way in which we can navigate through these difficult seasons that we're going through as a country. And please inform your friends, your families, that I am live on my Facebook, and I'm about to make a statement, and I would like for you to join me in understanding the challenge at hand. I'll be speaking about matters that are happening in the country, matters of conflict, matters that are making our politics look cheap, and then try to aspire for a better community, a better way to coexist in our nation. But the next couple of minutes, I'm going to be patient with you as you notify your colleagues on different platforms to which you belong. I see that Jekoniah is already here with me. Ernest Mwewa is also here with me. Thank you. And Jekoniah, please invite your colleagues. Thank you so much for your support. You've always been there to make sure that the voice of morality, integrity in governance is being promoted. Always wanting the vision of Zambia shall be safe to be realized in our lifetime. And I'm so glad that I can now say with confidence that vision that we've carried for so many years of Zambia shall be saved is here with us now. And Sydney, good to have you. I've been waiting for your phone call. I hope that we can talk later tonight. And the rest of you that are joining me, thank you very much. Simon Monga in Makonde, thank you for coming in to join us. Michael, my dear brother, Michael Mukumba, well, I'm glad that you are with us here. I don't know which country you are in at this moment. You're all over the world. I don't know where you are watching me from, Michael. Just give me some indication to tell me where you are today. I am doing this to wait for a number of people that are going to be part of this program, like I promised. And thank you, Musonda Kapotwe, you've done well. Thank you, Chilo. Reagan, you've joined us as well. This thing is really just moving so fast. People coming from all over the place. I'll make a short announcement, a short statement, and I'll shut it down so that we can concentrate on spending the rest of the Sunday evening with our families. But this is important that I deal with it, because a lot of people have been posting questions on my Facebook concerning the subject of the conflict of an invitation card in the nation, the storm in a teacup. I think we need to talk about it. Why is it all right, Chamba Valley, that's where you are, Michael. That's wonderful. So basically, why this storm in a teacup about an invitation? I think that we need to add, provide necessary information. Then I am going to give my own take on this in as far as the unity of the nation is concerned. I also want to highlight the cancer of our country, which needs to be healed, possibly by God's grace, in August, that we need to heal the cancer of our nation and move the country beyond petty politics and politics of division and politics of trying to outdo one another. While we are trying to outdo each other as political leaders, our people are paying the highest price. So please make sure that our friends join us. Alan, thank you for joining me today. And George Peary, thank you so much as you watch us from within Lusaka. Felix, thank you for joining me. I am about to start. I mean, we got quite a number growing so quickly, being tempted to give it just another minute to hit that golden number for us to start our conversation. Today I want to deal with this subject. The development of July the 2nd has added more sadness to the already grieving nation, especially that we have lost our founding president and father, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. Then we have added more pain and sadness to the country by creating a conflict over an invitation card. Now, obviously all of us understand how petty an invitation card is to rock the country into a frenzied debate. And I'm interested in that frenzied debate because the problem, surely Zambia cannot be an invitation card. There's something deeper than this. And this is the challenge that I've been trying to deal with for many years in my cry for Zambia shall be saved. We've got to get this country beyond a certain point in order for our people to start to enjoy development, cohesiveness, unity, and neighborliness. I think that this example of this card that has been talked about the past 24 hours, now 36 hours, is a good window to allow me and you to discuss a crisis that our country is facing. And I think that we need to face it head on and agree that the problem we have today is it cannot be the card. We cannot be talking about the card today. This is the argument in which all of us have been talking about, a lot of us have been talking about, and that concerns the invitation of opposition political parties to the state function of the late former president of the Republic of Zambia, the first president, Dr. Kenneth David Kaunda. There was an argument that erupted that President Hakainde Hichilema was not possibly given the card to be able to attend that function, citing the fact that the president prior had announced that this event is strictly by invitation. The UPND made a point that because the president did not receive a card, that's why President Hakainde did not show up at this funeral that was attended by so many presidents and heads of government from around the continent and watched by the world as we celebrated the life of this great icon that God allowed to be born in our country and on our soil. So it is this debate where government also responded and said that they had made the card available to the president of UPND and therefore they are not sure why he did not come. As you can see, this is supposed to deal with the issue of the late president has now culminated into just some political debate, something I really hate, and a lot of Zambians hate that. Not everything should be politics. There are certain things we should really just keep away from the daily petty politics of receiving a card or not receiving a card. And I think we need to face ourselves as a people and discuss this matter. I think that the issue, the real problem that we are facing is not that of a card. Zambians know that. We cannot be discussing a card for 36 hours. It's the underlying problem, which is the national crisis that we must deal with, and we must deal with it very, very quickly. There is a national crisis that was only expanded or exposed as a result of this card issue. And therefore, being a man of the collar, I do understand that we can waste a lot of time talking about whether the card was delivered or the card was not delivered, whether government is right or UPND is right. I think those facts are not really as important as the revelation that has been made to Zambia that we have a problem in this nation. It's a problem of a divided and a fractured society. A society that at a littlest thing like a card, it could explode into some kind of misunderstanding that creates the tension in the nation and creates instability. And therefore, if we don't deal with this underlying problem of our country, then all these issues of cards coming or not coming are really not going to be the issue. This card issue only reveals that we are dealing with a problem. I am concerned, fellow countrymen, that with the attitude that we are demonstrating towards each other in this country, we could be missing one of the most important opportunities to heal the country. I do not believe that the death and the demise of our founding president, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, should be highlighted by division and this animosity and this crack in who we are. I think it should unite us. I think it should bring us together. And if we miss this opportunity of the death of President Kaunda to bring us all back together, it may take many years before we have another rallying point around which we could put our swords down and our differences down. This death of this great gallant son of Africa poses or gives an opportunity to us as a nation to put our differences aside and celebrate unity for a change. Because in David Kaunda, we all have found a father that we can talk to. Like I said during my Fresh Start program, that this is a man who had time for all of us, opposition leaders and those in government. I've seen him, or I saw him, bless President Lungu with a handkerchief on his head. I saw him bless HH with a handkerchief on his head. I saw David Kaunda many times place his handkerchief over my head to just bless us, accept all of us as his children. And therefore, while he's still around and in his death, before we put his body down, may all these petty differences that arise from a card be dealt with in finality. I want to mention that it's actually better to live in a country where political leaders at the top level are able to look at each other as brothers and sisters, as defenders of the values and also the peace of our country. I believe that we have an opportunity, while Dr. Kaunda is still alive with us, to ensure that we use his name and this unfortunate situation to say, brothers and sisters, for the sake of the man that we're honoring, let's not really make this thing bigger than it is. So the problem we have as a nation today is an underlying problem of hatred, bitterness, and a situation where our society is divided and broken. It is broken because this set of presidential candidates and the set of political leaders today we are some of the most divided. We don't talk that much. We don't come around the table. When the church brings us together to talk, we talk from the top. We don't talk from our hearts to solve the problems that affect the Zambian people. And when the meeting is over, we use different doors to get out, especially at the Cathedral of the Holy Cross. Some use the back door, the other ones use the front door, but without really connecting our hearts to finding lasting solutions to our country. So what has happened with this card issue, and the reason I'm commenting on it, because it gives us and gives me an opportunity to highlight what I've been talking about all these years. When I say Zambia shall be saved, it means that we give ourselves time as a people to find goodness in one another. And this issue of the presidency is not permanent. Today it's President Lungu is president, Tomorrow it will be one of us, those of us that are running, who's going to be president. All of us are going to retire, die, move away. Zambia shall remain. So let's not destroy the fortunes of our children, the fortunes of our sons and our daughters because of our personal small petty differences and hatred, if I may add. There is actually hatred in the hearts of political leaders against each other, to the extent that if they hear Nevas Mumba is sick, maybe with COVID, there will be celebration. If they hear that HH has got COVID, there will be celebration. If they hear that President Lungu has COVID, they'll be celebrating. This is how low we have sunk in a Christian nation. This is how desperately wicked we have become. And in order for us to heal our country, we must use this situation, which is a sad development, where we have lost our founding father, to say, brothers and sisters, what this man espoused was unity amongst all of us. He loved all of us, the ruling party and opposition leaders, those in opposition. He didn't segregate against any one of us. And we should really do everything possible to put these differences aside. I challenge all of us. I know that some of us talk to each other, but I challenge that President Lungu and President HH learn to speak to one another as brothers, because politics is not permanent. We weren't born political leaders. We were not born presidents of political parties. We were not born presidential candidates. These things come and go. What remains is our faithfulness to God, faithfulness to one another, loving our neighbor, and staying in peace with one another. If God allows you to become leader of this country, it's a privilege and an honor to serve God, but not as a basis or a platform to hate your neighbor. And this is what's happening in this country. These positions, we're using them to wield hatred and against one another. And really, at the end of the day, yes, we have offended each other. We offend each other because we are human beings, and we all believe we have a better way to govern this country, and we should argue at that level of trying to argue on the basis of what I'm going to do for my country. But beyond that, we are all Zambians. We are all brothers and sisters. But this hatred that is in Zambian politics is not us. It's not Christian. It does not reflect what Kenneth Kaunda has been wanting for us to be. Now, let me go back to the issue of the car. And it's unfortunate that I have to talk about this. It's so petty, but it's the issue that is on the table. Some people have asked me on my Facebook page saying, what about you, Dr. Mumba? Did you receive your card? Yes, I did. Cabinet office made it available to my team, brought it to the secretariat, and it was brought to me, and I had to attend. I attended the funeral. Why? Because really at the end of the day, this is one funeral that I was not going to miss anyway. If Cabinet office had not sent me a card, I would still have gone to that funeral, because Kenneth David Kaunda will not die twice. He's going to die only once. And if I miss this opportunity to salute the man who gave me the education that allows me to speak the English that I'm speaking, that allows me to be what I am, that has allowed me to come from Chinsali, from the village there, and to become Vice President of the Republic of Zambia, and now leader of the former ruling party, it is because Kenneth Kaunda invested time and invested his policies in making sure that a young man from the bush who grew up without shoes can become a vice president. And there's no way I was going to miss his funeral for whatever politics, that I was not going to be a part of it. But I did receive the card. So it is not my place to indicate whether my brother HH received the card or not. That's for him to testify, whether it was delivered to him or whether his people went and picked it up from cabinet or not. Those are semantics. Those are things that only President HH can explain. The issue as to whether government truly invited President HH, that also to me is a small matter, because I don't know. We don't know the truths, except probably the government themselves and cabinet office. They are the ones who are able to answer that question. And whether truth will come from both sides to be able to settle this matter, I do not know. But my interest is not whether the card was given or whether the card was received. It is the principle of the underlying crisis that I want to talk about. The underlying crisis is that if an invitation card can create such kind of suspicion, such kind of venomous statements, that kind of pushback, then I think we need to talk about it. So I did receive the card and I went for that event, and I would have not missed it for anything. For me, it was not going to a funeral of an institutional person. It was a family matter. It was a personal matter to see and hear what was happening in that service, to hear those great presidents come and eulogize our first and founding president in the manner they did, to hear the 21-gun salute. As the 21-gun salute was going on, tears were flowing down my cheeks, because all of a sudden I realized that we have a phenomena in our country greater than we have ever realized. No wonder the Bible says a prophet is not without honor except in his own country. I think Dr. Kenneth Kaunda was not as honored amongst us as he has been honored by the international community. But now that he's gone, let's not use his funeral as a place to show and flex our political muscle. Zambians have had enough of these conflicts. Zambians have had enough of these sports and fighting between ruling and opposition. I think Zambians wants us to mature, to now be more interested about their well-being. And the thing that really concerned me about that card is that we're talking about a card at a time when Zambia was not only mourning President Kaunda, but at a time when COVID-19 was taking the highest number of our brothers and sisters. And I think sometimes we place our values and our time on things that don't matter. I think that the opposition parties, ourselves and the ruling party, we should spend more time on trying to find solutions to issues like COVID-19. How are we going to keep our people safe? I think that would be more useful for us than fighting over the card. I think it is important, if government had a lapse for some reason, whether deliberately or not, somebody needs to apologize to HH and say, sorry, we did not prepare your card in time. That's if that's a position. But if it is true also that HH got the card and for some reason decided not to come, he should also be free to say, look, at the end of the day, I did not come because of this reason. That's dignity. That's really what shows leadership. To say, listen, I should have come, but I was concerned about ABCD and I didn't come. But I want to clear the air. We need to move forward beyond the card. We need to move to the Zambian people and their needs and their problems. That's why we are in leadership. We are not in leadership to flex our political muscles. Now, I think that I would like to go a little further in the discussion of this subject. Maybe the problem is this. Every political party has got its policy on many issues. For instance, there's a history in this country by opposition, some opposition political parties, not to attend state functions for two reasons, and I'll come to that. And this does not start with the UPND. It started with the PF under President Michael Sata. When we were in government as MMD, President Michael Sata, for some reason, made a policy for himself and his party never to attend any state function. And that, as I studied it when I was vice president, I came to understand two reasons why he did that. We have seen that UPND assumed the same position that PF did towards MMD. Now they are doing it towards PF. The same thing of not wanting to attend national events. Now there are two issues that I found out when I was vice president as to why Michael Sata, may he so rest in peace, was not comfortable coming to those issues, to those functions. Number one, there was a belief in his mind that coming to Independence Day, Africa Freedom Day, or any state function was going to be a show of weakness, that he is supporting the government of the day, and therefore neutralize the potency of his opposition. So it was better to be on that side and reject anything that this government was doing, whether it was a state function or a party function. So that's point number one. He did not want to look like he was agreeing with the government of the day. Secondly, the other problem was the problem of the ruling party, the MMD. were that when opposition parties would come to our functions, they would not be recognized, and they were treated like they were not present. And it's just sad that that discourages the opposition, and especially that they're already battling with the issue of thinking that people would think they have weakened. So I think this is something that I found out, and it's still the position. And on President Michael Sata died, and his party got into government. UPND also assumed the same policy, that they will not attend these national events for the same two reasons. There could be another reason, but those are the major reasons. And now that creates a crisis. It creates a crisis because, first of all, we need to move for a fresh start. That's why my theme for this campaign is a fresh start. We need to cut out all this kind of behavior, this kind of politics. I'm yearning for new politics. Politics where Zambians can be looked at as mature and exposed and liberal enough to accept other views. And when I invite an opposition person at a state function, I give them an opportunity to be recognized, even to ask them to greet the people, because it's a national event. It's not a party event. And we are part of the nation. We are stakeholders as opposition political parties. So there is a big problem with ruling parties, including my own when we were a ruling party. But moving forward, I'm dead serious about providing for Zambia a fresh start. I want to cut off this type of politics that begins a fight over an invitation card. And I knew that one day it will come down to this, to an invitation card, to become the debate of the nation when our people are dying from COVID-19. And we're even wasting time and space in newspapers to discuss just a card. It's because this problem has been with us, but we did not want to deal with it. And it has been exposed through the card, unfortunately. And we have to deal with it. We look like lunatics now, but it's because we have not dealt with this issue. And we'll look more lunatic in future if we don't cut this thing out. President Lungu, call HH and just greet him. HH, call President Lungu. Never Mumba, call President Lungu. I've tried to call myself, and I call almost everyone. I call President Lungu, I call President HH, I call President Kalaba. I have a good relationship with President Membe, and I don't think that I have a problem with anybody. But let's learn to neutralize this toxic thing that is existing amongst us as political leaders. We don't need it. Zambians don't need it. Zambians want development. They want us to argue about issues that are going to make their lives better. So I think that this policy issue must be resolved. So what has happened now is that because the UPND has a policy not to attend national events, it also goes to say it would become complicated for them to even attend former President Kaunda's funeral, because the cards that came to us, they read the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, invites Nevas Mumba or Hakainde Hichilema for the event. So it's a state function. So UPND has to make a decision. Are they going to attend this function, since they are not attending any functions of the state? Because although it was a funeral, it was still a state function. That's why the soldiers had taken charge of it. That's why Cabinet Office was sending out the cards. It's a state function. And so maybe UPND found it difficult to deal with that matter, even though it was an important funeral. But I am aware that President HH, looked to Dr. Kaunda with great reverence and respect. And I think that he would want to be present, but maybe tied by his party policies. But I want to remind all of you that Mr. Sata had the same problem. He was not attending any events. But when President Levi Patrick Mwanawasa died, may his soul rest in peace, we never stopped as MMB to send invitation cards to all stakeholders, even those who were not coming, even Mr. Sata was not coming. We kept sending them because it's the regulation of our state to make sure that all stakeholders representing people are represented. So we kept doing that. But one thing that surprised me when Levi Mwanawasa died was President Sata showed up, regardless of the fact that he had a policy not to attend state functions. He even followed the body to Eastern Province, where he created a crisis there, if you remember. But the point I'm trying to make is that this issue, we should be able to get up from our homes, and if the card hasn't come, if our relationships were right between President Lungu and HH and myself and the others, President HH could have risen up and picked the phone and said, "Nishana ma guys you go to State House. Abene Lungu, nishana ne kadi nchipokele, bamdale chiloni lelo. Please na papa dan tubine kadi wangu." That would happen and should happen. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. And the ones who suffer are the Zambian people, not us leaders. And whatever tuakwata mu mitima Yesu, ulupato tuinga kwata mu mitima Yesu. In the name of God, let's put our differences aside. Let's use the death of President Kaunda to make sure that we resolve our issues and run for this election so that the best man wins, as the Zambians would want to choose. And sometimes you fight so hard, you hate so much, you injure your friends so much, and end up losing the election. And once you lose the election, your life changes completely, because everybody remembers, how you insulted the other one, how he insulted you, and how that now this problem is going to continue. So I am of the view, MMD would like to propose that it is important for all of us in the opposition political parties to acknowledge the fact that state functions are exactly that, state functions. They don't belong to the ruling party. Some of these ruling party members were not even there at independence. Some of them never even did anything patriotic to make Zambia get, where she is today. So they cannot be the custodians and the honors of independence celebration, Africa Freedom Day, the funerals of statesmen that have made such an impact in our country. So the ruling party cannot be the captains and the honors of these events. That's why MMD goes to these events. And sometimes we are ignored, sometimes we are looked at like you are coming because you are looking for a job, you have come because you are stuck, that's why you want to greet the president so that the president can give you favor, you do business. No, it's not that. It's because it's our day. All of us, all Zambians, should feel free to go to that event. And that's what we need to do in Fresh Start. When we form government as MMD, we will make sure that this, sorry for using this word, I'm a pastor, this nonsense is discontinued. Zambia belongs to all of us. We must be people that can live with one another, that can coexist, that can respect one another. You may not agree with President Lungu, you may not agree with HH, you may not agree with Nevas Mumba, but who said we should agree on everything? We are all, like Kenneth Kaunda used to say, we are all created in the image of God. We are all different, but we are all God's creation. So I say to Zambia today, this invitation card issue has exposed the wickedness of our society, the emptiness of our value basket, because for us everything is politics. I appeal to my brother HH and the UPN that I think there's still another event that is coming, which is the burial of the president. I think it will be the best time for every leader, those who are going to be around, to make sure that they show themselves to give the solidarity. And I think that we should all be happy. And maybe the problem we have is that sometimes when we go to events like a funeral, we go in a way that we want to attract attention to ourselves. The burials are not about us. This issue about Kenneth Kaunda is not about Nevas Mumba or HH or President Lungu or any other person. No, it's about Dr. Kaunda's legacy. So we should go there in our own persons and individuals I had to leave my security. I wanted to go with my wife. My wife was already ready to come with me. I called cabinet office. I said, should I come with my wife? Because this is something my wife does not want to miss. Cabinet office answered me, no, Dr. Mumba, there is no space because of this COVID issue. Just come by yourself. For the first time, I was angry that I could leave my wife for something she has always wanted to be part of. But because they believe those are the regulations, my wife had to remain, and I came alone. My security had to remain outside, and I went alone because the issue was not Nevers Mumba. The issue was the late president, Dr. Kenneth David Kaunda. And that's the way we should think. Opposition leaders, we are invited, we go there in our persons to pay tribute to that great son of the soil. So I've said this because it's getting me. My spirit is grieved that we have to be dealing with these small political petty matters when our people are going through one of the most difficult seasons in the history of our nation. And when we are also grieving at the loss of our founding father, then we find room to be doing politics. I think that let's leave that behind. Let's leave it behind. Let us concentrate on what really matters. And this is really something that I wanted to say. So, to the Patriotic Front, I think that you need to understand, of course the election is next month, but you need to understand that being in government does not mean you own everything and you are alone in this country. We are many in this country. And you must, even this funeral that we had of Dr. David Kaunda, you were going to look so magnanimous, so big, so embracing, that you have all those presidents from all over the world speaking. You have got President Lungu as the host president speaking. It would not have hurt to get a speech from one of the opposition leaders, maybe two, or maybe just one to represent all of them. Make your comments, because this is not a PF funeral. It's a national funeral. And look, sometimes these things concern some of us. We helped South Africa through David Kaunda to become liberated and become a free democracy, to include the black people so that they can participate in the governance of their country. They become independent and overtake us in our democratic space creation. For instance, when Winnie Mandela died, the speeches that were made, including the most vocal opposition leader, Malema, was given a platform to speak. What does that mean? It means that this country has recognized that all of us have a stake in Nelson Mandela, in Winnie Mandela, in South Africa. Therefore, they are not on the fringes. Some of them will never be presidents. They may die never becoming presidents. So do they first have to become president to feel part of this country? No. But let them represent the people they represent by allowing them to make a statement. Even at Kenneth Kaunda's funeral, how glorious it would have been to be able to hear an opposition leader make a statement, because even those presidents that came would have gone back there thinking, my goodness, what a country, how united they are around Kenneth Kaunda, how Kenneth Kaunda has made them shake hands with one another, how they can be on the same platform and do what they're doing. Fellow countrymen, I have poured out my heart because I have been fighting for this country for 44 years now under the theme Zambia shall be saved. This is not the Zambia we want. This is not the Zambia we are looking for. We are looking for a Zambia united in purpose and a Zambia that can bring everybody together so that all of us can feel part of this great nation. I do not want us to bid farewell to His Excellency, the late President Kenneth Kaunda, under these circumstances of fighting about an invitation card. I think it belittles us. The people who are watching us, our members, are shaking their heads. What a wrong time. What a wrong issue to be debating. I think both government and us in the opposition must come to a place where we recognize we have responsibilities. It's not about how well we feel, or to use this funeral to say we are the better ones who are organizing the funeral better. Dr. Kenneth Kaunda would not want his death to be used to push political agendas. He would like his death to be consistent with the message he preached, that it is our responsibility, according to Luke number 10, to love your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and to love your neighbor as you love yourself. That is the message that Dr. Kaunda would like for us to continue to push and not to fight over invitation cards. Let's get beyond that part and let's look at the bigger picture of uniting our nation under the theme, One Zambia, One Nation. Fellow countrymen, I thank you and I pray that we can introspect, search our hearts, and ensure that as we move forward, we inspire our younger generation to know that we can concern ourselves with things that really matter. I love you all, and this is why I am running for president. I believe we need to make sure that we set an example of a fresh start. I thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much for tuning in at Davi-tech Media. Remember, Davi-tech Media is the media that shares news, trending videos, political news, gospel music, as well as entertainment. Please don't forget to click that subscription button and that notification bell to be the very first person to receive the video that will be produced and posted by Davi-tech Media. Davi-tech Media, updating you.